So here we are with Joe Tadai, co-star of Dual Survival. How you doing, Joe?
Good, man. How you been?
Pretty good. I want to talk to you today about home defense and training and what people can, do and some tips you have for them. I know you have your school, Lone Operator, and if you want to talk about that a little bit and where it's based and what you do.
Sure. I started Lone Operator about a year ago, and what I've concentrated on to date has been pistol, rifle, tactical tracking, surveillance, counter-surveillance, disaster preparedness, personal security type courses. As a matter of fact, I just got back last weekend. 2 weeks ago. I was. Hold on one second. Let me turn this phone off. I apologize. I was just in another part of North Carolina, and I was training some gentlemen that were hedge fund managers from Goldman Sachs. Very, very successful guys, and they had a property that they owned and they had built up, and they wanted to know a lot about personal security, what kind of weapons they should own, and all kinds of other things. But it was a very interesting class because the issues that they had so much property. They had almost 1,000 acres of land.
Wow.
And so they had a lot to control.
Right.
But they had a lot of assets. They had a lot of money. So just because you have a lot of assets and a lot of money doesn't mean you know what you're doing with it.
Right.
As far as when it comes to personal protection.
Right. Now, were you actually training them, or were you training their staff as well?
No, they actually had, on this property, they had, let me think, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 full-time staff people, and they all lived in New York. And so this was a place that they all bought in together, but I was training them. They all had firearms. None of them knew how to use them. They all brought one pistol, one shotgun, and one M4 because I told them to bring one of each, and they had them. And we did some firearms training. And then I talked more about, like, they had several houses on the property, and I was kind of showing them where to put cameras and some other things and lighting and some other stuff like that. But they had a lot, but again, didn't necessarily have the knowledge on how to put it all together.
Right, right. Now, as far as that goes, what are some of the most common mistakes you see people making, or maybe they can make better choices as far as home defense?
Well, here's home defense. You have several different aspects of it. You have passive and active security measures. And so, do you have a dog? I mean, that's a great deterrent for a lot of people. Signs, that was another thing I told these guys. They needed to buy about 200 signs and put them around their property that basically said private property, surveillance cameras active. They also had 2 Belgian Malinois that they had trained. I mean, these guys had it all. But for the average person, lighting your property, signage, and accessibility into your property, and all of us can't afford those goodies that those other guys had. But the average person can put lights out. As a matter of fact, here at my home, I just put lighting on all 4 corners of my house, floodlights, and it lights up. I have about 20 acres here, and it lights up all the way to the road and about 100 yards to the back of my house. So I could just flick one switch and poof. I mean, my place turns into almost like a prison. It lights up.
Wow. And I was actually going to get to the dog thing because I was at a training course led by Rich Graham. He has a Malinois, and actually, it kind of clicked in my head where, like New York and Chicago and places like California, that's a great option if you can't have a gun, is to have a dog. If you want to talk about that a little bit.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there are some places, that to get a concealed weapons permit, it is not easy. And luckily for me, where I live in North Carolina, having a CCW's, as long as you're not a felon, you're over 21, and you have reciprocity, and I don't know how many states, 19 now or 20,
right.
But still, I don't sleep with a gun on me. I do have a shotgun in my bedroom. We can talk about weapons of choice, but having a dog is a great deterrent, especially if, and in my opinion, especially if you're going to own a dog like a Belgian Malinois or let's say a Dobie or a German Shepherd that has some training, it would behoove you to put signs out, because if something does happen and your dog goes after someone, at least you warn these people, don't come on this property. That's just a liability thing. That's an happen. But
right.
Dogs are a great deterrent. I don't have a dog. I actually have 2 cats. But having a dog is great, especially for the barking. It's early warning. Just like in Afghanistan, we would be hitting these compounds, and more times than not, you would hear a dog barking, and that's a dead giveaway. So hopefully your snipers would take out the dogs, but that's a whole nother story. But here, dogs are great. If you have the ability to have one, I travel too much, unfortunately, to be able to take care of it. And I don't want to have a neighbor take care of it. But, yes, huge asset.
Yeah, let's get more into the, tactical part of it. As far as, training and practice. What are your thoughts on, I know somewhat of your thoughts on dry fire practicing. You really, that it's free. Yeah, and, what are your thoughts on dry fire practice?
Bro, I dry fire every day at my house. And I bought a SIRT pistol not long ago, and if you're not familiar with one, they're a great asset. Have you ever seen one?
Yeah.
They're great. And what I will do is I'll stand here behind my couch. My TV is right there. See my TV?
Yep.
And what I will do is I will stand back here. It's about 3 yards. And I will sit there with my SIRT pistol, my holster, and I'll say to myself, the next male that comes on the TV, I'll draw. And so you go through your OTA loop. And I've actually, I can tell you right now, I have gotten my draw from the holster with 1 round on the target under a second consistently.
Wow. Because
of that. And, I'm consistently hitting 0.85, 0.8. My fastest so far has been 0.66. And that's from a regular Safariland drop holster with a retention device.
Okay.
And it's because of the SIRT pistol, yeah.
Now, what do you use for everyday carry? Do you, obviously you're not doing drop
I carry
weight.
my Glock 17.
Okay.
Yeah, I got a Glock 17. I carry that. And I'll be honest with you, man, I don't carrying a pistol is a pain in the ass. I mean, I've carried a gun for so long. I keep it in my car. It's in my center console. If I go into a dicey area, I may stick it down my back or something, but I don't carry often.
Uh-huh.
It's in my car. And obviously I have, firearms in my house, but it's not that I carry a pistol everywhere I go. It's there if I need it. But I don't know. I just have gotten to a point where I carry a gun for so long, it's nice not to have to carry one,
Right. So what if you were to...
I do have a CCW.
Right. Now, you said you don't really use a holster or anything when you do?
Yeah, if it's in my car and I'm getting out and I'm in a dicey area, I'll just stick it down the small of my back. But if I know I'm going somewhere or going for a hike somewhere, I'll just put a paddle holster in. I have an Uncle Mike's paddle holster, real nice piece of leather inside the pant holster, nothing fancy. And I also have a Phobos. Ever heard of Phobos?
Yeah, they have a paddle holster as well.
Yeah, pretty nice paddle holsters as well. And that's what I carry. Very simple.
Now, in your training of individuals, say for personal or home defense, what do you recommend to them as far as carrying extra magazine, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah, I mean, if you're carrying a pistol, if you got a CCW, you have to have extra mags. So I would just tell people, look, if you're going to carry a gun, carry, obviously your firearm of choice, and then 2 extra mags. One at a minimum, 2's better. It's just I have my Phobos holster, and I have a Phobos dual mag holster as well. mag pouch for my Glock 17. But if you have a malfunction or whatever, or heaven forbid if you run out of ammo, you need to have more mags. But I know a lot of guys. Quite frankly, I'm just thinking right now off the top of my head, I know more than a few guys that don't carry extra mags. I don't agree with them. They just says it's a pain in the ass. They don't want to. So
Yeah, I mean, it is extra to carry it, but it's nice when it's there when you need it.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna do it right.
Yeah.
And that's the way I look at it. That's a bad habit in my book. If you're gonna carry a firearm, especially a pistol, semi-automatic type, you need to have an extra mag or two.
Right. Now, as far as let's go, back to the personal defense. People aren't always, in cars or at their house. They're also flying. Right. I know you fly around a ton. What do you, what's the process for that people can know, and what do you kind of make it easier to certain tips or anything?
Well, if matter of fact, when I just went, I'm actually leaving tomorrow to go out of town, and I'm bringing my pistol with me. I'm going to a state that has reciprocity. And it's simple. I mean, all you do is just check your gun in. If you've ever flown, you need a plastic case that will hold your firearm that locks, and you just go up to the counter and say, hey, I'm flying. I've got a pistol. I want to declare it. You got to open it, clear it, show the lady or the guy that's at the counter. You can't have any ammo in the case at all. Your mags have to be empty, and it has to be lockable. They'll put a little tag inside of it that says something like firearms declaration. They'll stick it inside the box. You lock it, and you stick it in your bag, and you check it in.
Yeah.
But pretty simple. But when I do train outside of North Carolina, I normally train. As a matter of fact, my M4 case is right on the other side. Matter of fact, I'll show you. I've got it.
Have you ever run into any problems with that? Checking.
There's my. I'm getting ready to leave tomorrow, and if you see my M4 case right there.
Yep.
So I've got. Matter of fact, my CERT pistol. Let me see if I can grab this thing. Oh, you know what? It's downstairs. I was training downstairs with it. But I love that CERT pistol, man. That thing's the bomb.
I saw you had some pictures of it on your Facebook.
Yeah, I love that thing, man. But no, I've never had any problems. What you have to be careful of is when you go through security, and this has happened to me, and maybe you have one extra round or something you stripped off and you stuck it in your bag and you didn't know it was there. I've actually gone through security where they're like, can we search your bag? I'm like, yeah, go ahead. And I'm like, oh, man, I was just training. And they're pretty cool about it. I'm not, I didn't try to hide and say, look, my mistake. It happens. I'm sure it's happened more a few guys that have been going to shooting schools or whatnot, and, you just strip a round off, whatever that's in your bag. But it's no biggie.
Yeah. So, what is on your nightstand? You were talking about earlier you have a shotgun and whatever. So I guess that was one question people actually asked. What's on Joe Tedeye's nightstand? What does he run?
All right. I'll tell you what. Let me take you in my room real quick. I'm gonna give you a quick down and dirty.
Like a cribs.
Yeah, exactly. This is my bed. I don't know if you can see. Can you see my shotgun?
Yeah.
Basically, what I have, it's an old school Remington 870. You see it?
Yep.
It's got a side saddle on it. I've got double-aught buck and 3 slugs, and I've also got double-aught buck in the tube right now. But it's old school. I've had this thing for probably 15 years. I mean, you can see it's beat up. I've painted it, but this is what I have next to my bed. And I also have a pistol in here as well. But I think a shotgun, in my opinion, is the best home defense gun. And here's the way I look at it. More than likely, you're going to be sleeping and be startled out of your sleep at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. And it takes a while for your eyes to adjust. So having a shotgun, in my opinion, is a great home protection gun, just for the sheer fact that you have a little bit of fudge factor. Still doesn't mean you shouldn't place your shots. What I'm saying is you have a little bit more ability if you don't have a perfect shot. Let's face it, one shot from a double-aught buck, I mean, that person's going down for sure.
Right.
It's stopping them. So, and that's the way I look at it. One thing I didn't, on my gun, I actually just took it off. I had a mount for a light.
I was just going to ask you about that.
Huge. If you're going to have a home protection weapon, you better have a light on it.
Yeah, and that's one thing I was going to talk about. I mean, I have some lights here. You have the, like 650 lumen, crazy. You shouldn't use that really in home defense. Yep. And then you have something a little bit, around the 200 range, 150. What are your recommendations for people as far as, I wouldn't say specific brand, but, what are you looking for?
Well, my whole thing, with a light, I would prefer to be able to attach the light straight to the gun. Like on my Glock 17, I have a Surefire M6 light on it. It has a light laser combo, but I also have a Surefire. Matter of fact, it looks just like your flashlight in my drawer in there. And my big thing is a light. Is when it comes to using it in self-defense, I want to hit some of the light and it stuns them for a second, just a little bit. If your light is not doing that, I would suggest you look at getting another one. I don't want just a little bit of light. I want to, I want to hit them hard with it. It might be enough just for them to do that. And again, you're going to pay. Man, Surefire lights, they're not cheap, but you pay for what you get. And, it's the cheapest insurance policy you can have. My light's been sitting in that drawer for probably a year. I check the batteries probably once a month just to make sure they're good to go. But, I think I paid $80, $75 for it. But it's a good light.
Yeah, I know
if I ever have to use it, it's going to work.
Yeah, I know people have a lot of the Scout lights that they have running on their rifles. I mean, they're forever, years and years and years.
Yeah.
So they make a good product. So I want to talk about this question of finding a threat versus playing the scenario. A lot of people kind of get sucked into that cone of someone's in my house, I have to go find them. Do you believe in that, or do you believe in playing the scenario, being smart about it?
Bro, and I guarantee you're going to have these armchair quarterbacks watching this video and saying, "Oh, that's bullshit." Here's the deal. You don't do one-man CQB. Period. And that's what you're basically asking somebody to do. If you hear, like, I have a downstairs and an upstairs. So if I heard somebody breaking in downstairs in my house, all I'm going to do is I'm going to get on the phone. I have a phone in my bedroom, which that's another security measure. I don't have to go anywhere. I have a landline in my bedroom, and I am going to call 911, and I'm going to say, "Hey, my name is Joseph Tedai. This is my address. I have somebody breaking in at my house right now. I'm in my bedroom, and I'm armed, and I'm shutting and locking the door." I think a person that goes looking for trouble in that situation is probably going to find it.
Now, would you recommend doing that if it was like a family member or something that that wasn't secured with you?
That's where things get different, and this is where you have to have a good plan. Let's just say you live in a house where mom and dad have the master suite that's downstairs, and their kids live upstairs, or they all are upstairs. You need to get your kids to you.
Right.
And that comes into planning. So, if your kids hear somebody breaking in or they don't, you need to get together. Whether you go to them or they come to you, you've got to make a plan. And whatever plan that is, it needs to be easily executable.
Right.
Maybe for some reason, their room is more secure. Or has a tactical advantage. Who knows? Maybe their room faces down a hallway that you can see the stairway coming up. Whatever. That's where I would want to be. That gives you the tactical advantage. But for people that are saying, "I just go find the guy and shoot," you're a dumbass. Let me just tell you that right now. If you're going to go looking for trouble in your house, somebody's breaking in. Look, there's nothing in my home that is worth getting shot for.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? I'll call the police. I'll lock my door. Now, if somebody kicks my door in, it's a different story. I'm going to defend myself. I know the laws as it applies to North Carolina and the use of deadly force. And I suggest anyone that has a firearm in their house that they have for self-defense become very acquainted with the laws that apply to your state. Not all laws are the same. Some states, you have to have means of egress.
Right.
Meaning, if somebody breaks into your house, if you can get out of your house, you need to get out of it before you engage with lethal force.
Yeah, Chicago.
And I'm not an attorney. I'm not an attorney, and I'm not giving anybody legal advice. But if you have a gun, and I'm sure you agree with me, you better know the laws that pertain to lethal force. Because if you don't, heaven forbid if it ever happens. I mean, you can get hit with a manslaughter charge, and you're screwed.
Exactly. So let's get back to, we have about 2 or 3 more questions here.
Sure.
Let's get back to something that's, I think, overlooked to a degree, and that's medical. If you're going to be concealed carrying, et cetera, what do you have in your IFAC? What do you recommend?
I'm sorry, in your what?
Like in your IFAC, in your individual first aid kit.
Right.
Like, what do you recommend?
I actually have one in my car and in my truck, and I have one in my house. I've got matter of fact, it's in my laundry room. I've got one of those wilderness survival medical kits. I think I paid $100 for this thing, and it's got everything in it. I actually bought one that came with QuikClot, which is great if you're familiar with QuikClot. Yep. But I mean, if you're looking for an injury, a shooting injury, you need like Kerlix, tampons, stuff that you can stick in the bleeders. But and of course, I have iodine and all the other stuff. I have some splints. I got an Asherman chest seal. I got a couple needles for tension pneumothorax and stuff like that. But for the average person, unless you know how to do that, I'm not a medic, but I've had some pretty good medical training. Our medics trained. I was an 18 Bravo, a weapons guy, so I was at the bottom of the food chain when it came to medical stuff. But I had some really good medics, and so I know how to do all that stuff, IVs. But yeah, anything to stop bleeders is what I would recommend. In my car, I have a tiny little first aid kit, and it's got Kerlix, it's got gauze, it's got an ACE bandage, it's got an Asherman chest seal, it's got QuikClot. I even think I have a splint, if I'm not mistaken. But one of those aluminum ones that fold up. I can't remember the exact name.
I know you mean, yeah.
But Sam Splint or something like that. And then I've got the same. Well, the one in my truck is actually a bit bigger because I've got a bigger go bag in my truck, and it's got just a little bit more stuff as well. I actually, come to think of it, my medical kit in my truck actually has a starter kit for IV.
Okay.
And an IV bag. Yeah.
Wow, that's really all in one.
Yeah, and I've done IVs on myself. I'm a little out of practice, but I know I could do it. But that doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to be doing it on myself.
Right.
Be someone else.
Yeah, most of the time you're going to be using that for other people, not yourself.
That's right. And just from a tactical standpoint, I don't want to talk tactics, but you never use your own medical equipment to take care of somebody else. You use theirs. Right. So in combat, you would use that guy's medical kit, not yours. So, but. We're just talking about basic first aid.
Yeah, so as far as like the medical kit, there's some discussion going around with some other people I know, like the Haas USMC. He's talking about creating, for concealed carriers, something to carry with you, like maybe 3 main things you'd need medically. What are your thoughts on carrying something like that? You think it would be kind of bulky? If you could find a way to make a pouch for it and carry it with, you already have your mag and your gun. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I think it's a great idea, but where does it stop?
Yeah. It's I think the main thing is like a tourniquet, QuikClot, and maybe like an Israeli bandage. But still, that's a lot of.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, you're absolutely right. That's the other thing I have in all of my kits is a tourniquet you can apply to yourself, and that's absolutely a biggie. And I forgot. Yeah, that's a no-brainer. But where do you carry that stuff? I know when I was downrange, you have your med kit, but you're talking about civilians, man. I mean, I don't know.
Would you rather have that in a bag, or would you rather have that in a bag or something?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I can think of, and people laugh at me because when I travel overseas, I carry a little fanny pack. I keep my wallet in it, my camera in it, my passport in it, all of my credentials and whatnot. And people laugh at me. I don't wear it, on a day-to-day basis, but that would be something that you could fit a small piece of, medical gear in. Yeah. But I only use that overseas because I like to know where everything's at.
Yeah.
Especially when traveling through foreign airports and whatnot. When I was shooting dual survival, we were traveling a whole lot. So the last thing you want to do is like, where's my wallet? Where's my phone? Where's this? I just had it right there in a fanny pack.
Yeah, I know a few people that actually use the fanny pack for concealed carrying in gyms.
Yeah.
Because they want to carry everywhere. And, when you're working out, you're pretty minimal on what you're wearing.
Yeah, like at my gym, there's no firearms allowed, actually. They have a sign on the door.
Oh, does it? Okay.
Yeah. But, again, I love the fact that, we have the freedom to carry firearms. I just think people need to be realistic about it. I actually have a friend of mine. I'm not going to mention his name. I've known him for many, many years. He never served in the military. He's never been law enforcement. The guy is extremely knowledgeable about firearms, very good shooter. He actually takes his pistol and puts it in a plastic bag and brings it in the shower with him.
Really?
Yeah. And, I was like, man, why do you do that? He's like, dude, what if I'm in the shower and somebody breaks in my house?
Yeah, that's a good point.
I'm like, why don't you just set it on the toilet?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, but yeah, he, dude, no lie. Swear to God, bless his heart. I mean, he bleeds red, white, and blue, and he's very Second Amendment and patriotic guy. I just think there's a point in time where you have to use a little bit of common sense. Now, I will tell you though, in his defense, his house has been broken into 3 times.
Yeah, so he has definitely a reason that he's.
Twice he was home. And once he wasn't. So, you got to kind of look at the situation as well.
Yeah. And I mean, as far as freedom, just a real quick thought before you get to the last question. It's great that we can have the freedom, at least businesses can, to say,
right.
No guns allowed. And I think people have to understand that, you have your Second Amendment right, but a privately owned business also has the right to say, I really don't want guns here. And, respect for both,
Absolutely, man. I couldn't agree with you more. And that comes down to liability and insurance and other things for them. And yeah, it says right on the door of the gym that I work out at, no firearms allowed. So you have to respect that. And, I know a lot of people might have a hard time with it. But I don't personally. I always know where the exits are. If somebody happen to come in there, slinging lead, I know where all the exits are. Going to run like hell, and they're going to have to hit a fast-moving target, So, Yeah,
and I think on the last question here, for mainly law enforcement, but even individuals who have concealed carry and such, there's been this discussion of an active shooter kit. I'm not sure if you've kind of heard that thrown around, where maybe like a chest rig or something, especially for law enforcement. They'd have something in the trunk, maybe
Gotcha.
like a minimized plate
Sure.
with like 2 mags on it, et cetera,
or
et
just a
cetera.
low vis kit. Yeah.
Yeah, that if something's going down, you can kind of get into the into the fight
I'll
there.
be honest with you. I'd be surprised if they don't already have that.
Yeah.
With all if I was a police officer, especially a SWAT officer or somebody like here,
Well,
they
more
don't have
for
a full-time
it'd be
SWAT
off
team.
duty, more off duty, I guess would be the main reason.
Yeah, I would be shocked if they didn't. I mean, you got to plan for something like that, and that's an easy fix.
Yeah. Now, what's some of the stuff you at least off the top of your head, what you would probably want to have on that?
Yeah, I mean, for like an active shooter, I would want something just like you were saying, something very low vis, maybe 2 or 3 mags, a small little chest plate. I wouldn't even really worry one about in the back, especially for if you want to scoot and move pretty quick. I would definitely have 2 mags, a light, a flashlight, unless he has one on his gun in case you have to search, dark closets and whatnot. But some medical stuff. Obviously they're going to have handcuffs or flex cuffs with them if they're a law enforcement officer. If they don't, I would definitely have some flex cuffs in that particular kit. But not a whole lot. I mean, it would be something very lightweight. But I know here we don't have like a full-time SWAT team. So the guys that are patrolmen, they have all their SWAT kit in the back of their car. So if they get a call,
Okay.
They just put it on, and it's their full Monty. They got the whole shebang. But yeah, it's something very low profile, something you can move very quickly in. And I just had this discussion the other day with somebody, and it turned into a little bit of pissing contest. this guy was saying, in Afghanistan, he wasn't in special operations. He was in an infantry type unit, and he was saying, I always carried 12 mags on me and one in my gun, and I'm like, well, that's great. And he started, talking about all these pictures I see of all these Spec Ops guys and SEAL Team 6 guys and Delta guys and this guy and that guy. They only have a few mags. 4 mags, maybe one in the gun. I'm like, yeah, that's very common. And I said the reason for that a lot of times is you have to be very mobile. You got to be ounce conscious. And quite frankly, at that level of the game, those guys, the unit I was in, you shoot better. Right. So I don't need 12 mags to hit, you should be hitting, every shot you're squeezing off, you should be getting somebody's attention.
Right.
So if you had 4 mags on you and one in your gun, that's 150 rounds. You could shoot 50 people 3 times.
Yeah.
What kind of compound you taking down?
Yeah, we talked about that last
time.
Got
20 other guys behind you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's a give and take, and obviously it's situation dictates and mission dictates, but, a lot of these high-profile raids and some of the raids I've been on, dude, I went very, very light. Very, very light,
Well, you got a mission.
That's right. Now, if you're going to do an extended op or, you're going to be out for a few days, that's a different story. But if you're just fast roping onto a target and you're going in and come right back out.
Yeah, and you already have an idea of how many people are there anyhow.
Exactly. I mean, obviously the Bin Laden raid is a good example. I mean, I wasn't there obviously, and but from what I understand, those guys are carrying 4 or 5 mags. But, strength is in numbers as well. You've got, I believe they had about 24 guys on that hit.
Right.
So, and that's a lot of guns. And but this argument went on with this guy saying, what happens if you run out of ammo? Well, if it's that bad of a situation, you're going to call in a resupply or you're just going to exfil. That might even be a board criteria, right, depending on the particular situation. But getting back to your question, yeah, something very low profile, some kind of Rhodesian chest rig with a couple pouches, is perfect for that. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's just a little video. We were going to talk about the home defense. Man. I was curious your thoughts. I had a lot of people ask about, like I said, what is Joe Ted-Eye like? What does he run in his nightstand? What is his thoughts on flashlights, et cetera, et cetera? So I thought I'd get you down here again and talk about it.
I appreciate it. Love talking to you. So, yeah, man, I'm pretty simple when it comes to my kit. I like the KISS principle. Keep it simple, stupid. I don't have any fancy whiz-bang stuff. Fancy whiz-bang stuff usually breaks. Buy quality. That's why I can tell you right now, don't buy anything cheap. Because heaven forbid, if you have to use it for real, that $200 or $300 you saved might cost you your life.
Yeah,
That's just my opinion.
Yeah, here's one last question since you are an instructor. Do you recommend, especially in times like this with ammo prices and such, if someone can buy, say, 1,000 rounds of ammo, or they could go to a training course, what do you recommend?
Wow, that is a very good question.
Because what's going to get you further? Getting the knowledge or stocking up on ammo?
Well, here's my question to you, I guess, would be is that person that's buying the ammo, if they know how to shoot and have had some formal training, I'd buy the ammo. But if I was a novice shooter and I just bought an M4 or I just bought a pistol, I would rather hook up with a quality instructor and let's just say, you just spent $800 on a bunch of ammo. Well, you can go train with somebody for 2 days for $800.
Right.
I mean, I know a lot of good instructors out there that are very reasonable, including myself, where $800 is going to get you 2 days of training, 2 10-hour days. So it would depend on the person's level of proficiency and their confidence and the use of their firearm. But if you've got some training behind you and you're comfortable, buy ammo. Let me know where you're getting it because I can't find any. I really can't. We have a local gun store here, and 5.56 and 9 mil.
Gone.
Zero, dude. Even 22 ammo. is hard to find right now.
Yeah, it is difficult. I think it's making a comeback, but it's definitely definitely is difficult to find. Well, thanks for taking the time out of your schedule. I know you're extremely busy. Dual Survival Season 4 is a go.
Yes, sir. Yep, we start shooting that sometime in October. The dates are kind of fluctuating back and forth, but it'll be in October. Hey, one thing I will tell you, talking about ammo, recently I was asked to test some ammo, and they flew me down to this place called Gilcrest Hunting Lodge in Florida, and I got to tell you, the name of the ammo is called Liberty Ammunition, and it is without a doubt the best ammo I have ever shot.
Really?
As far as like ballistic effects, it's lead-free, less recoil, super accurate. They've got a 9mm round that's coming out of the muzzle at 2,000 feet per second.
Wow.
It's I believe it's a 60 grain 9mm round, and I was shooting gelatin blocks with this thing, and I got to tell you, one shot from that firearm and you've had it.
Yeah.
It dumps all of its energy within 1 inch of penetrating tissue.
Wow.
And it just starbursts. It literally disintegrates. It looks like almost like a shotgun blast.
Yeah. Now, is that the pictures you had on Facebook where you're in the ATAC FG?
Exactly.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'll put the link down to that in the video here,
dude.
so they can just go look at the
right
pictures.
now, they make law enforcement and military rounds, but then they also make rounds for civilians. And I tested all of them, and hands down, because when they told me, they started telling me the ballistic effects of these rounds, and I'm like, you know what, bullshit flag, I ain't buying it. I never heard anything like that. Like, I tell you what, we'll fly you down here. I stayed down there for 2 days. I tested 9mm, 45, 40, and 223. And I can tell you, I've never seen the effects of those kind of rounds on gelatin. We were shooting hams as well, these big old hams, and it was devastating.
Wow.
Devastating rounds, dude. One shot, center mass, you've had it.
Right.
There's no getting up. Check it out, Liberty Ammunition, man. Outstanding ammo.
Yeah, I'll put the link down there to the photos you had, and they can
Really
check it out
good
down there. All right, great. Well, I'll let you go. I know you got to go eat, and we'll
Okay.
talk to you later. Thanks for stopping by.
Got it, man. Let's do it again.